It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. Today I'm going to be having a look at the Iris split Ergolumnar keyboard kit. So this is a little bit of a strange one in that I don't know if I'm going to be squishing a couple of videos together in actually doing the build or not, but at least this first part is going to be just having a look at the kit. So the background to what I'm about to show you in a couple of moments is that this keyboard kit was designed by a particular person but produced and sold by Kebio, but the case was designed and laser cut by another person who then, one of their customers is one of our fans, has asked me to build it for them. So just jumping through that chain, we're talking about the Iris, which is a split ergonomic keyboard that was produced and designed by somebody, produced by somebody else, with a case that was made by another person, and a kit that was put together, that was sold to a customer, and then passed along to me for building and reviewing purposes. So a bit of a long-winded chain. The Irises have been around a while. It's a pretty nifty keyboard. It's very similar to, I suppose, Ergodoxes and other keyboards of that nature in that it is a Ergolumnar. So the columns are vertical, but the rows follow the curvature of your fingers. So they move up and down. It's split hand, and yeah, it does support LEDs and RGBs and stuff like that. So let's get onto the desktop and have a look. A little bit fuzzy because, as per usual, I don't script any of my videos and whatnot, and I was just trying to think about what exactly it is I'm trying to say. So I was past this box today. I met up with a gentleman today, and this was a complete kit. Now, I don't know if the switches, I think the switches actually came from Daily Clack, so they've asked for them to be installed with the burnt oranges. They're going to be moving into a cubicle farm workplace, and they didn't want to be bothering their new work colleagues with clicky switches, which personally I would have just gone with clicky switches because, hey, whatever, they can deal with it. And if not, I can just go to a doctor and ask for some kind of certification to use an ergonomic keyboard with clicky switches. Well, at least I would try. Now, here is the actual kit itself. I haven't opened it, so we're going to explore this kit together. And what I've seen and noticed is the fact that there's instructions that are bundled separately to this kit, which I think is pretty cool. So let's just move that aside. So we can see here that it's from Laser Ninja, who is local here in Australia to me, and it is the Tinted Iris Case version 1, developed in July 2018. And there's some details for Laser Ninja there if you want to check it out if you're interested in getting it. Bit of a blurb, and there's some kit contents, and it should have all of these parts involved. So we'll get to looking at that. And I noticed that interestingly down here, it actually says the print date. So the 12th of September. Today, at the time of actual recording, I don't know when, of course, this is going to be released because I do have other content that I've been sort of piling up a little bit, is the 15th. So this is actually super fresh. I think it was printed the same day it was shipped out, which wouldn't surprise me at all. So let's just crack it open and see what level of detail is provided. So it's good quality paper there. Ooh, it's pretty cool. So explains about the blue tabs holding the pieces together and the count. And then on the back, wow, it's a full-blown instructions. So follow the guide from Kebio, navigate to Iris. If you're using 2U stabilizers, don't install the M2s circled. Okay, so down here on this particular plate section, it actually says, if using 2U stabilizers, do not install the M2 standoffs in this spot. So I've actually been asked to install this design with the 2U, so it's going to be a single switch in the thumb position on both sides, so I will have to remember to not do that. And then the instructions are simple as just build the Iris with the switch plate, put the standoffs on the bottom plate and place all the mid plates through them, and then screw the completed build on the top and then put in the tenting legs. So there's a lot of screws in this exploded diagram. It's very well written. It's very well drawn and written. So yeah, I think if Laser Ninja is ever looking for a job as a technical publications author or Illustrator, there would probably be a very easy transition into that field. Okay, let's move along. So let's just put that slip back in. We'll refer to it later when I get around to building this, and hopefully soon. And here's the actual package, and it's pretty neat. There's an exploded diagram very similar to what we saw, but it doesn't have the lines running through it and the extra text. It's a nice sticker, and it says Tinted Iris Case version 1, same as before. We can see through the packet, there's the actual PCB. So we'll get to it when I pull out the contents. It's very neatly packaged, I must say. So it's very professional looking as a kit. And in theory, it should contain everything that we need. So 2 Pro Micros, 1 for each hand. Excellent. We have a whole bunch of M2 6mm long screws to go through the actual mid plates. And then we've got shorter screws as well. We've got these tented feet bits that will go into the bottom, and a whole bunch of these M2 standoffs as well, which is pretty cool. There's a bucket load of diodes. We've got 2 TRRS jacks. We've got 2 reset switches. I believe there's some MOSFETs and there's some resistors as well in support of the actual RS build. We've got the 8 bump-on feet that is required. We have more pieces for tenting. I believe these are the tenting legs to adjust the actual height. And as per the instructions from earlier, there is the blue tape that is actually holding the pieces together. So that should peel off really easily. Now, from what I've read, these should have some kind of film on it that I would be peeling off when I actually get around to installing this. So I'll have to look a bit closely, but just from just trying to lift it, I don't see or feel that there's a film here, but there might be. So I'll have to obviously look at it in a little bit more detail, but yeah, it'd be very fiddly to try and take that off. There is marks on this, so I don't know if it is actually a film or not. It just, I can't detect an edge on these at all. So maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. And here is the actual Iris PCB itself. So you can see it's actually done by Lewis Ridden, who's the designer of the PCB, because Kibio is actually run by Danny. So Lewis has done the design, but Kibio is the one who's actually taken that design and produced it. It's a pretty cool design, and as I said, it's split, so you've got 2, they're mirrored. You've got a column situation happening here with each of the columns in a vertical row, but there is a stagger, so you're going even, up, down, down, and it follows through across each of those rows. And then you've got a single thumb position there and 2 switches down below. So the hand position is kind of like that, and you would be expecting to move up and down, I suppose, to get to your keys. So there you have it. Now there's a separate design. So one side is it's almost like that medical. There's some wings around the middle central staff thing with some laurels, and on this side you've got what looks to be some kind of angel happening there. It's revision 2.5. We've got some headers here for supporting RGB kind of things. If it'll, come on, there we go. So there's the Pro Micro and the orientation of the Pro Micro. We've got some power and ground and lighting controls. We've got some other pinouts there that are required for controlling RGB strips and lighting. What else have we got down here? So there's the Kibio, there's the extra data pins, the resistors going to the positions that are required, and the TRRS jack actually lives there as well. Now, that's all I can kind of see, and the reset switch will sit up the top. Kind of lost the focus there a little bit. Oi. Gosh, one of these days when I can actually afford to change my camera setup, I'm going to be so happy when I can have controllable autofocus or whatever it is that well, anyway, you'll have to trust me that it says reset there. Yeah, it's lovely in terms of just the general quality of it. Now, I recently reviewed some PCBs that were actually made by a completely different manufacturer, and I can tell you by glancing at this one, the quality of the pads on this is beautiful. So much so that I probably might take some pictures of this later and actually send it to that company and say, this is what I'm talking about in terms of really good quality pads, because their stuff just not anywhere close to what this looks like. So whoever Kibyo is getting these made by, I would say thumbs up definitely from me. Right, so that is the Iris Ergolumnar split keyboard kit, produced PCBs by Kibyo, but case by Laser Ninja, who's actually put together this kit and sold it. And of course the switches, I believe, has come from Daily Clack. So it's taken a couple of players to make all of this happen, and I look forward to being able to build and put this together for my local I suppose local friend here, local person in the keyboard community, and hopefully I'm not going to stuff it up and they're going to be able to enjoy this beautiful keyboard, whatever keycaps they choose to put on it, at their new workplace. Now I'm just going to put these back in the order that they came out of, and hopefully that sticker's shifted, so I don't want to damage the sticker. Let's flip that around. I don't know why I'm taking the effort to do that, since I'm going to be pulling it all out later anyway to build it, but yeah, you know, it's just good practice to put stuff back where you found it, how you found it, and I treat property with respect. Rightio. So there it is. It all fits into a really neat bundle. If anything, I would have actually said doing this extra packet, it's nice, but probably not 100% necessary. I would have actually even said that they could have designed it to be a smaller form factor and it could have been folded up into panels. I realize that the detail level is nice to have it large, but you know, this kind of sizing is absolutely, it's nice and clear, but it's not absolutely necessary. That could have been a lot smaller and it still would have expressed the required information, and therefore it would have reduced the actual size and print. The tabs and the size of this particular schematic of the case is also not necessary to be that size. I know that the back, the inside that had that exploded diagram, is important to have it in size, but you know, it could have been designed to fold and fit within that packet and save yourself the extra plastic packet here that is part of this kit. So there you have it. There is the Tented Iris case and kit from Kibyo and Laser Ninja. So thank you very much to you, Simeon, for actually lending me this kit to build and review, to check it out. I really appreciate it, and I hope that I will do it justice and make a good build for you, be able to put it together. And of course, thank you guys for checking out this video. Now, if there is actually a follow-on, which is in this video for the build part, awesome. If not, then just make sure you hang out for that particular build video and review of the final product. So thanks very much for checking out this video. Please head over and check out our Instagram. Of course, you can also check out our podcast at www.theboardpodcast.com and everything else that we do as well. So until next time, happy clacking. And we're back. So hopefully if I've done things right, you would have just either seen or skipped through the time lapse of me actually putting together this iris. Now it took me just over 2.5 hours. I think it was 2 hours and 31 minutes from start to finish to actually put one together. It was a little bit more fidgety than I thought it would be, only with the case assembly. The actual instructions that I had followed for building it, besides my general knowledge of how these builds normally go, as well as the guide on Kibio's website itself, was pretty straightforward. I think the hardest part was actually trying to not burn myself when I installed the MOSFETs, and then I also discovered that I had to clip the header pins on the Pro Micro to actually make it fit inside Laser Ninja's case design. Besides that, it was pretty straightforward. I didn't hit any hiccups. The Pro Micros do power on and the reset button does reset it, so hardware wise it looks like it's going to work just fine. And I spoke to the owner of this set and they will actually do the flashing of the firmware themselves. So let's switch over to desktop and actually have a look at the final completed product. And here it is. So the cable is my own cable, but I just put it in there for illustration purposes so you can see where it goes and how it actually sits and communicates. The USB connections, one is here and the other one is here, so it really depends on where you want to be putting as your master and as your slave. And you can see the reset switch is right there on the PCB right next to the actual Pro Micro itself. Now, Laser Ninja's design also includes these legs here. They're quite long. I actually don't know how many millimeters they are, but thanks to a trusty ruler, we can see that the tenting is about 35 mil in height. And so it does create I wouldn't say it's crazy aggressive, but it is a very distinct angle. Now, as you can see, he's also done a bit of laser engraving on the bottom. So it's Laser Ninja Tinted Iris Case version 1 July, which is pretty cool, which is pretty nifty. Try and get my cables untwisted there. And as requested, I've put it in with the single thumb cluster with a 2U and stabilizers. So overall, this is a nice kit. It's a very simple build. I've got some leftover parts in here, so there's still a couple of the bump-ons and there's a bunch of screws and 2 standoffs. Now, the 2 standoffs I can understand because they are meant to go in the middle here to provide extra support if you were using the 2-switch option rather than the single thumb. The reason why you don't put that in is because the standoff will actually get in the way against the stabilizer bar when you put it in when you're using the 2U setup. But what I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know if it's just a security matter or just generosity, there's a lot more extra M2 screws left over than I can identify where they possibly could have gone that I haven't actually put them in. So I'm pretty sure I didn't miss any of the screws. Now, the beauty of this design is, even if I did, the owner can actually unscrew this entirely and put it back together again with the screws where they need to go. But I looked at the diagram and I'm not missing any screws according to the diagram. So maybe that's just in case you've lost the screws or you've stripped them or something. Now with these tented legs, they do have the long M6 that goes all the way through the layers, which is quite nice. And yeah, there was quite a bit of excess packaging and waste, I suppose, if you want to think about it that way. There's a billion little baggies in here that all came out of this kit. It's nice to have them separated, of course, so that you don't lose parts and whatnot. But obviously I'm not throwing them away. They're just going to go back with the keyboard to the person who's going to have fun with this. But yeah, it could reduce yourself some cost in regards to the packaging, which could, at the end of the day, reduce the cost of the kit for the end consumer as well. Now, let's talk about this actual keyboard and its ergonomics. So, like I said, the tenting on it is quite, I'm not going to say it's stupid high, but if you notice my wrist position, it does cause my wrists to be at a much higher angle, as you would expect. The actual rotation is quite comfortable, but you will need to have some kind of wrist support, I feel, for it. Now, as you can see, it doesn't come with one natively as part of the kit. I don't know if they've got one happening, a group buy, a design, a 3D print, something possible, but I feel that it would be nicer to be able to have that rather than, depending of course on the height that you sit at and how close you are at the table, your wrist angle being bent rather than being straighter. So that's one consideration. The size of that, so you can go with either numero 1, 2, 3 and then Control Alt or whatever, or you can go no numero and it's, you know, Q, A and Z, sorry, Q, A, Z, and then the bottom row would be a whole bunch of extra macros if you don't ever use your numero. Of course, you can always go function and do the same thing to cycle however it is you want. It being a Ergolumnar, of course, means you only have to deal with one U keys. Much easier to get compared to some other, I suppose, layouts if you've got like weird 175 shifts or other things like that, 225 shifts on one side, since most sets will only come with one of the 225 shifts. Other than that, it's pretty lightweight. It's you know, it's just acrylic. This is the, I think, snow maybe is what they called it. It's just like a frosted white with a matte finish on it. It's quite nice. Hopefully I'm not going to scuff that up and get it damaged and look really horrible by the time it actually gets back to the person who's going to go work in a office environment with it. So box oranges, tactile switches, feel pretty good firmness to them. Of course, that sound itself, if the microphone's actually picking it up, is not indicative because there's no keycaps on it. These are also the new retooled keycaps, stems on the box switches. So therefore, it shouldn't have any issues with damaging keycaps being put on them at all. So there you go. That is what a tinted iris looks like. Pretty simple build, pretty straightforward. No real hassles. About 2.5 hours if you know what you're doing and you just work at a steady pace. Yeah, and the kit came with pretty much everything that you needed and then some. Now there are extra bump-ons because it was recommended that you put bump-ons in other spaces, but if you've got the tenting on, then that's absolutely, it's not necessary. And these tenting feet bottoms here actually are also rubberized, so it doesn't slide around or anything like that at all. So thank you very much, guys, for checking out the video. Thank you to Simeon for actually letting me play with this kit and actually build it and put it together. Of course, if you have any issues in flashing it, the community is out there to help you with setting up a key map and learning how to get it on board. Yeah, I hope you really enjoy it, and I had a good time putting it together. I think the only part that was bugging me was just having to be able peeling off all the protective layers on these acrylic sheets. So, all right. Well, thanks for checking out the video. Please hit like, please hit share, and of course, please hit subscribe if you aren't subscribed to our channel. We like to do giveaways and things like that to show appreciation whenever we hit milestones. And of course, we've got our podcast series, which you can find at www.theboardpodcast.com. So, as I like to finish with, until next time, happy clacking.